My panel here is just talking about how nervous they are, so you guys have to take it easy on them. This last session is really going to focus on the value of expanded learning, and there are various ways to think about that. One of the ways we thought about it in preparation for this was around two themes of excellence and equity. Given what we've heard, we know that some kids have opportunities that other kids don't have, and the extent to which children are getting those new opportunities, that's a value, and our panelists will talk about that. And secondly, we know that kids need to experience the broad set of ideas and learning opportunities that will excite them, and there are various ways to think about quality, whether that's from a youth development perspective or from an educational perspective, or you name it. And we're going to talk about that as well. So before we actually get started with that conversation, our panelists are going to introduce themselves, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing at the Ford Foundation. And then we have a clip I think we're going to get teed up, because one of our panelists, who's a student, couldn't make it for a family situation. But it looks like she's going to talk to us through a video. Then our panelists will answer some questions I will throw at them, and then we'll turn it over to you guys. So just pretend that you're at home, you're talking to your friends, and we'll all be very relaxed here. I'm Fred Trillo, Senior Program Officer at the Ford Foundation. We have been working on expanded learning time for some time now, about 5 years. We have funded after-school programs, summer programs, expanded programs in schools, and I love the term expanded learning because it is a unifying term, because we all know our kids need all kinds of expanded learning in whatever format it is. Now I'll turn it over to Anthony.
Wow. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Brown. I'm the Parent Engagement Coordinator for Henry C. Lee Elementary School in Philadelphia. I'm here on behalf of the SPARK program, which is also collaborating with the University of Penn to provide extended learning for the students there. So far, it's been a pretty good year. It's actually my first year back at Henry C. Lee. Prior to this year, I was there for about 9 years, serving in many different roles. And I thank you guys for actually having me here, the SPARK program, and those who organized the summit. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And again, I'll be here to answer, any questions that you guys may have and to talk more about what it is that I do with the extended day program. One last thing, this actually must have meant a lot to me because today is my son's birthday. So if he's watching, happy birthday, son.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelvin Sherman. I am a Higher Achievement alumnus. I graduated the program in 2006, and then went on to Higher Achievement helped me get into a pretty dope high school, McKinley Technology High School, if anybody's from DC, which is a STEM school. And I went on to pursue my education in television, radio, and film at Syracuse University. I just graduated last May, so thank you. So you'll be 1 year on Mother's Day, and now I am currently working in the field of production, television and film production as a production assistant. Worked on several projects within the last year, and I'm excited to be here to shed some light on my experience being in higher achievement. So fire away the questions, I guess.
Good afternoon. My name is Carmel Perkins. I'm a principal at Carter School of Excellence with Chicago Public Schools under the Academy for Urban School Leadership. I'm in my first year of our partnership with Citizen Schools, so we are in our extended learning time and programming, so it is very interesting with our wonderful and illustrious middle schoolers. This is my 19th year in education, so I've had multiple roles and leadership opportunities, but nothing quite prepares you for engagement opportunities when you're dealing with wonderful 13 through 15-year-old students. So it can be very exciting, but we're blessed to have the opportunity to work with such intriguing minds and understand what helps them grow and develop. But we've also had the opportunity to look at what's very interesting, what's going to help them grow and develop as young students. What are some of the gifts and talents that have been untapped, and how are we going to develop some of those skills? So with us for extended learning time and programming, we were looking for very unique opportunities that are going to help them learn, grow, develop, and what were some non-traditional approaches to learning and understanding growth and development, and really building relationships and partnerships. So when we talk about voices from the field, we were looking for something very different, and our partnership this year did that for us, and we still are undergoing our first year, but we want to talk about some very interesting things that it brought to our lives this year. So we welcome those questions, and we definitely want to make sure that we talk about some of the great things that are happening for us in our first year of our partnership.
So I think now we're going to see a video clip. Is that correct? Okay. We'll just wait a few seconds.
When people think about school, they think about boring and thinking how it's so boring that they really don't want to come. But with ELT, it's not just about the learning, it's about activities that you can do. Like, because of ELT, we get to do enrichment blocks, and we get to do dances after school, and it's really amazing how other schools don't get to have the opportunity that we have.
ELT with extended learning time, it helped me with my love of science and health, learning about the human body system.
I was in here since kindergarten. I've learned to play instruments since I've been taking band classes. I've been playing piano, drum set, and DJing. Ever since I came to the school, I loved music, so to pursue my dreams, I want to go to Berkeley College.
ELT and extended learning, we had the chance and opportunity. For example, 7th grade, we got to go to Model UN, and that kind of influenced me to become a lawyer because it's all about debate. And for Model UN, we took a field trip to Boston to, I believe, a Congress. And we went inside and debated with a lot of Boston schools like Latin Academy, and we just had debate teams on how we can help other countries.
Since I've been here in kindergarten, I've been really interested in science, so that really affected what I wanted to do in the future because I really want to be a medical examiner.
With an extended learning time, I felt like I had a better opportunity or a better chance to understand the material that I had in classes. I could have a better grasp, I could explain it better to my teachers. I did better in tests and classwork with an extended learning time because I always had more time to ask questions about things I didn't understand and learn more in a day than other schools did.
Student support is a half an hour every day of time we get to do homework, which we can catch up on. We can ask our teachers if we can go to their homerooms to have help with understanding and how to do something if we don't understand how to do it in class.
Since 5th grade, I've always had trouble comprehending things and trouble reading. I wouldn't be able to read correctly and stuff. And with the extended learning time, English class helped me a lot. It helped me how to read more, how to comprehend questions, and how to turn the question around and get actual higher grades on my tests and everything.
So since I've been here since kindergarten and the extended learning time, I've learned different languages like Spanish, and that will really help me in the future, college, that will be really good on your application.
I got to spend more time with the teacher called Miss Hendrington, and she taught me a lot of things, like how to do math differently, because usually teachers teach you one way to do math. That one way is the standard way, and sometimes with the extended learning time, classes are longer, so she taught us other ways. She taught us shortcuts on how to do math, and she also told us stories that could impact our lives and what we want to do when we're older.
The thing I'm going to remember most about Salem Wood is the support I've gotten throughout all the years, both academically and in my sports.
The one I'm going to remember most about the school is getting extra help and getting more calmer and becoming more confident.
The thing I'm going to remember most about Salem Wood is the effort the teachers put into teaching us.
The thing I'm going to remember most about Salem Wood Middle School is our school motto, perseverance equals never giving up.
was terrific. It really was. I think that's a perfect way to start this conversation because both the themes of excellence and equity are evident in what we just saw. But let's start with the equity side of this, and I'll start with Carmel. The concept is that many kids or schools run out of time to give kids the things they need, whether it be academic support, whether it be exploration and new types of curriculum, et cetera. So from your perspective, then we'll come right down the line. What are you able to do now since you have more time to sort of support kids' development?
So we look at that in multiple ways and from multiple perspectives. So throughout the extended learning program, we also have enough time to not just focus on a traditional aspect of giving them additional time in literacy or giving them additional time in math. We do have that time. So we give them additional time to provide support with literacy, and so we can look at that from a variety of ways. So they have individualized instruction in small group settings. They're able to tap into multiple ways to help them with diverse learning styles and giving them support with different learning modalities. And so that's something that is very difficult to receive in a traditional classroom setting when you have large group of students with 30 students. So we can be able to individualize instructional support using a variety of methods. And so when students feel that individual support, they are able to open up more often. So that's something that sometimes our students shy away from in a typical classroom setting because some of our students have a range of abilities and they're not always on grade level. So it can be very difficult for them to open up in a larger setting when they know that they have some struggles and they know that they have some concerns. We're a year turnaround school, year 2 turnaround school. So traditionally our students in middle school can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years behind. And so to open up in front of 30 other students to say, hey, I struggle with this skill set, please give me additional support can be very challenging. But to do that in the classroom with maybe 6 or 7 other students can be a setting where I can say, hey, can you give me some additional support? But I can get it in this way. And so that can be very welcoming for a student when they've also seen this mentor all day to say, hey, I know what you need and I can give it to you in a less invasive way. And so we also look at a non-traditional approach as well. So it's not just about the academic portion, but how can they learn in a more creative and innovative way? So giving them different approaches that sometimes our classroom teachers don't have the time to do. And so when we look at the numbers and the data, it's a rigorous approach to say, hey, here's our bottom line. We need to make sure our students are able to get it in this way, but for after school, they're more flexible to say, hey, I can give it to them from a perspective where we can show them a video, or hey, I can give them this technology piece, but we can't always do that during a regular classroom setting because we're pressed against the clock and we only have a few minutes to really give them the supports that they need. But then we also look at extended learning time from a different perspective to also say, hey, my students are struggling through literacy. Maybe they don't always need it from this book. Maybe I can bring in a resource, which sometimes is in the form of a mentor to say, hey, I understand it from this perspective. Let me give you a different way to look at this. And so I think that's the piece that we're missing during the day is sometimes it's the person, sometimes it's the approach, and there's a different value in really giving students another resource to say, what are some additional strategies and what are some additional supports? The great thing that we've also been offered through extended learning time are the apprenticeships. And so often we overlook the importance of having apprenticeships and not seeing them as valuable learning experiences. Sometimes our students aren't often the best scholars in terms of data-driven instruction, but when I look at the untapped gifts and talents that our students have, we also see learning in terms of how can they perform on a standardized assessment. But when I see some of our students, I say, hey, he's really great at technology, but why not pair him with an apprenticeship to say, hey, he loves video games. How can we develop him in this area? And having someone to come in from a standpoint, someone who's actually a practitioner in the field to say, I recognize those gifts, I recognize those talents. Let me show you how to develop that skill. Let me show you what you need to do so that you develop and hone in on that skill. And so sometimes when our students feel that level of confidence, they can go back and say, now let me couple that with what types of books should I be reading to help me develop this skill, to help me develop that craft. And that's very different than sitting in a classroom during the day and never realizing that I have the ability to even learn at this particular level. So that's something that our teachers don't have the ability to do in an 80-minute setting with 30 other students in the classroom. So that is an invaluable experience that our students would never be able to be exposed to.
Before I go to Kelvin, there's a theme here that I want to sort of pull out. It sounds like when you talk about mentors and apprenticeships and the other folks that are able to engage with children, that you're able to help kids emotionally, socially develop. Academics are important, but it seems like a piece that's new, that's value added, is this ability to have mentors and other folks help kids get more belief in themselves and sort of take more risks. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. One of the biggest things for us that we push through every program, every adult that has interaction with our students, is building relationships and tapping into that social, emotional, and learning piece. The biggest challenge that we know from middle school students is they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so we have to focus on building relationships. We have to focus on building and establishing rapport with them as well as their parents, because we have to figure out how do we extend relationships beyond the walls of the classrooms, but through our students and into the communities as well. So we have to look at how do we tap into that relationship building piece? How do we build confidence? How do we do it through something they're good at or something that they can become great at? And many times they don't know that they have these gifts and talents until we expose them to things that they don't know that they have access to. And so that's why it becomes an issue with equity, but it also becomes a thing about excellence as well. Do we present them with opportunities at a high standard that they want to become a part of? Because I always think about, can we go beyond the traditional programs? Can we go beyond basketball? Can we go beyond baseball? Our students have been exposed to rugby. They've been exposed to chess. Those are things that promote critical thinking skills. Those are the type of skills that our students need to be exposed to, but these are also the type of activities that our students wouldn't necessarily gravitate to, but through the relationships that they've built, they have been convinced to say, hey, let me try something that I normally wouldn't gravitate towards. And those are the types of experiences that our mentors have brought to our students to get them to understand there are other opportunities out there. Let's try them to see what types of things that you would love to do if you understand the value that you possess and the value that the opportunities hold.
That's terrific. Kelvin, same question for you. In terms of equity, although I know excellence sort of blends in, what new and more opportunities do kids have now with expanded learning?
I'll speak from my experience with being a part of higher achievement of expanded learning is that, yes, it was an academic enrichment program, but what I took from that being a part of higher achievement was that I was able to gain much more than that. It was those moments where I was able to learn what a firm handshake and eye contact and speaking well in front of an audience and with those little things that made the difference when, I guess, sealing the deal with different opportunities post higher achievement that transferred over into my life. I appreciated those the most, and those were things that I wasn't receiving in school. I didn't learn those skills. I never knew the importance of it and how far it would take me in life. Those were the skills that, like I said, sealed the deal when it came to admissions meetings with high school admissions counselors and college as well. So I think focusing on the well-rounded student is what worked with higher achievement. Yes, I did do my homework, and then we went into center and we had our mentor sessions where we were reading a novel one night and then algebra on top of algebra the next night. But also developing myself as a person at community meeting and gathering time is what we call it, where we're sharing our thoughts on the day and what this word means that I've never heard of. It was a big word, exacerbate. I remember it was one of the first words I learned at higher achievement, and I'm a 7th grader, and then it's like, yeah, I'm going to go use that today at center tonight and then tomorrow at school. And then, like, where's this kid learning this stuff at, right? It's higher achievement. And then also the quote of the day, dissecting it, what it actually means, and just teaching us to be scholars. That's what they call us at higher achievement, a scholar. And I look back now and see that that is what a scholar is. That he's actively involved, or he or she is actively involved in the classroom answering questions, not letting anything go unanswered, and, doing his thing or her thing.
One more follow-up before we move on. I take from that around this issue of value, and it's a theme that we keep talking about here. How do we know what's the evidence this is working? But there are certain habits that you were suggesting, of mind, of presence, that you learned in this expanded learning time. Is that true? Do you see the value as the way you comport yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you manage yourself with other folks as something of high value?
I totally agree with that. Before I came to higher achievement, I'll just give a little backstory of myself. I entered higher achievement 7th grade, and it was something that was kind of brought upon me by my mother. Not kind of, it was. She kind of forced me to go to higher achievement. I always say this, but I'm so glad she did. But we learned through a family friend that what higher achievement was, and me being a middle schooler, only thing I want to do is I want to go home after at 3:15, go outside, play basketball, whatever else I was doing, watch TV. I mean, to go on top of, 3:15 to 8 o'clock at night, right after I get out of school? I mean, come on, that sounds like a lot, right? 3 days out of the week, I'm just like, no, Mom. But, mothers always know best, of course. And she did know what was right for me and what I needed. A little background, me in the classroom as a middle schooler, I mean, I wasn't the one that was actively engaged. I had potential, and I did my work, but, it wasn't a cool thing to be. The environment I was in, raising your hand to answer the question, being that first person to do that, it just wasn't. And I just sat there, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't the one raising my hand initially for the question. It was just, I went to school, it was what I had to do to get out of here, and it was what it was. But when I got introduced to higher achievement, I guess I recognized what I was missing in a way. I walked in and everyone's like, who wants to say the word of the day? And everybody's just like jumping up out of their chairs. I want to lead community meeting. I want to lead gathering time today. And I was just like, okay, wow. And when you're around the environment, it transfers over to you. You pick up those habits, and when you're around those people, that transfers over into your daily life and how you look at yourself. You have a supportive staff that's there that's telling the kids and the scholars that, we're all capable of doing this, teaching us about social justice themes and things, opening doors for us that we never would have received, I would say, just in a traditional education. And yeah, it goes back to that. Those habits transfer over into your daily life.
Well, Anthony, you've got two hard acts to follow here.
I know. They set the bar so high.
So you can actually agree with them if you want and add new stuff. So
I just want to go back for a second. What Carmel said, they don't care. Can you repeat that? They don't care? They don't care what you know until you know that they care. That was strong to me. And that sounds like someone who has a pretty decent mentor, or a mentor that definitely cares about them. I'm just going to go back a little bit into my collaboration with the University of Penn and the SPARK program. Again, SPARK is here and collaborate with the University of Penn, and we have our 7th and some of our 8th grade students who actually attend the SPARK program. I don't know if you guys don't know about the SPARK program, but the SPARK program is a program for our 7th and 8th grade students. One day out of the week, they go to their site and meet up with their mentor, where they work on a service learning project. And it's 7 different places, and all of the, 4 of the 7 places are on the campus of the University of Penn. We have Penn School of Dental. We have the Penn Biomed Research Program, School of Arts and Design, and the Wharton School of Business are the 4 places where our students go. So with these particular mentors, these are actually Penn professionals. So they go there, they work on a service project, and at the end of their 10-week session, they come back to the school and they present their project. We're actually now on the 2nd semester of the project, and many of our students are excited about coming back and presenting. One of the things that brings to mind in terms of the mentors and how we had a student who was struggling. He was an 8th grade student. He was overaged. He should have been, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the 9th or 10th grade. So he was bigger than majority of the kids. So our students, to almost at the end of the day, have to travel to their work sites. We have public transportation throughout the city of Philadelphia, which is a pretty, good system. However, most of our students only have to take one bus to get to their location. However, he had two young ladies. We gave him somewhat of a leadership position to make sure that, all of you get to your site and make sure everyone gets there safely. This particular student was also having issues with, different students, his parents as well throughout the school. I'm not sure what happened with him and this mentor, but this mentor made a difference. He was actually working at a different site, not on the University of Penn campus, but at a web design company called Punk Ave. And they taught him many different things, and when he came back to do a service project, he had one of the best projects there at the Discovery Night. So it was a major thing, but I speak to him on a regular basis, and he talked to me about how his mentor changed his life. And it was interesting to hear him talk about wanting to catch up to his right grade, and his mentor was going to help him do that. He spoke to me about things that he would never been able to speak to with his mom because some of the things were he wanted male feedback on, and the mentor was able to give that to him. At times, I would even have little conversations with him regarding certain things, and he responded well. I think we all here believe that student needs real world experience outside the classroom to become successful, along with the mentor assistance. And it seems as though this is what it is that he was getting. It seems as though that this is what it was that he was actually crying out for, but no one knew what was going on. So a lot of the times, him crying for help was, him getting into, different issues and having different problems with different people. I think no one really ever sat down to get to know what his real issue was until he sat with this mentor, and that wouldn't have happened, one, without the Spark program, but two, him having the opportunity to learn outside of the classroom. So I know that's one of our particular highlights, and in the same sense, I feel as though regardless of whatever your social economic position condition is, you always have opportunities to succeed. But you feel as though you also need someone in the corner to push you and give you the support and to answer the questions that you may not be able to get answered in the classroom or even at home. So with this particular kid, I think, he will continue to succeed, and, hopefully he'll be one of the ones we can look back to and, later in life to see that, this mentorship was, a promising thing for him.
So one follow-up question. A lot of folks argue that to ensure kids have these opportunities, you need to have partnerships. And it seems like the University of Pennsylvania is a good example of a partner who can add value in a variety of ways that perhaps schools can't. It doesn't have to be a university, it could be other partners. So do you think that part of ensuring equity and value is to go out there and get smart partners?
It's interesting. I think we at the Henry C. Lee Elementary School is blessed to have the University of Penn as our partnership school. Believe it or not, the University of Penn is 7 blocks from the school, and students have never been on the campus before prior to being involved in the program. So besides, what Spark do, we also have the out-of-school time program as well, which is our after-school program. And they have different enrichment programs such as college readiness, and they actually do college tours with the kids. We have a gardening program. It was interesting to hear you say as well, Carmel, that we try to link the kids to different things that they wouldn't have never been exposed to. The University of Penn lacrosse team actually practiced with our students just to expose them to a non-traditional sport from our particular community other than basketball and football or whatever the case may be. And believe it or not, we've, University of Penn have about 3 other schools that are partner schools. So we actually have competition amongst the 3 schools just so that the kids can interact with other kids who have never been exposed, to different sports. So it's been beneficial, again, to have the University of Penn, as our partner. But besides that too, when we do college readiness, and we also try to include the parents as well, because to be honest with you, a lot of our parents don't know what it is that you have to do in terms of, from their perspective, getting their kids enrolled in college. So we try to teach them about financial aid, and college starts as early as you make it. So we're beginning to talk to our students now about career and college choices. 7th and 8th grade now. So again, with the different things that we've been doing, I think if we continue these things, our kids will continue to strive for achievement.
That's great. Now I want to shift, although we've already talked about this a bit, to excellence in education more sharply, in that a lot of conversation around here and elsewhere in education is about excellence as measured by improved test scores, and of course we all want that. But you guys are implying sort of a deeper and a maybe broader conception of what excellence means for you as a leader of a school, as a student, has experienced this, and as a partner in a school. So what more would you add to the conversation about how do we get excellence in expanded learning time programs that would be useful to everyone here?
Want me to start?
You can start.
Okay. Wow, I want to say repeat the question, but when you think of the extended day in our programs in terms of test scores, it seems as though that's a question that can definitely be, go into debate about. One person may think that, standardized tests doesn't necessarily give you what it is that you need to say whether or not a student is achieving, but then on the other hand, one may believe that. So we try different things with our kids. Of course, we have 100-book challenge programs for the students to motivate them to read more, to try to boost test scores. We just last week had our standardized testing, and I know prior to that there was a pep rally to try to get the students and the parents more involved in encouraging and motivating the kids to try to do their best. But at the end, whether or not we see that students actually achieve, due to the standardized tests, is that a way to measure if, the students are, achieving? In the same sense, if they're doing well outside of the classroom and they're starting to see some improvements with their academic scores, do you compare those two or say, which one do you hold more value to? The standardized test, or the fact that through outside the classroom learning, the kids are still, reaching their academic potential? So it's iffy when you talk about, I know around our school, like Carmel was mentioning, we are in annual yearly progress is what we haven't made in a long time, and we've been striving to make that by providing different programs to try to help, our test scores increase.
In terms of excellence, I would say, that was the question, right? I'm sorry. Okay, so excellence. I would say I don't have the answer for it, I don't think, but I think creating opportunities is preparing students for opportunities, to be able to seize those opportunities is what excellence looks like to me. So they're able to go out there and to be able to capitalize on whatever is presented to them, and able to make moves on whether it's a test or whether it's another extracurricular activity that they post program or whatnot. But I think them being prepared for opportunities is what excellence looks like.
So we define excellence at being the best at everything that you possibly can do. And so for us, we measure that in multiple ways. And so our partnership with Citizen Schools this year, there's been multiple advantages. So we actually have teaching fellows in our classrooms during the day So we've been able to experience some increased academic gains throughout the day on our standardized assessments. So we do have interim assessments, and so our students, about a fourth of our middle school students are enrolled in our extended learning time. So they all get academic support during the day in literacy. So on our middle of the year literacy assessments, we've seen about a 25% increase for our students who are enrolled in our program. So they are seeing academic gains during the day, and we've seen those academic gains on our standardized assessments. So we look at our three big rocks. So our three big rocks are attendance, academics, as well as culture and climate. So when we look at those three different areas and we try to triangulate that data, we've seen that growth. We've seen the growth academically, but we also look at attendance. And so we've seen for those students who are in the program, we've seen an increase in their attendance because they don't want to miss out on the opportunities that the program provides them. And so that's valuable for us because we know that they're interested. We know that they're engaged. We know that they want to continue to be provided with the multiple opportunities that they have at their vantage point. And so we definitely want to capitalize on that and expand that to other students so that they have that opportunity and so that our families are seeing that as well, because now we have increased parental involvement. So the great thing is that before, when we had parent report card pickup and parent-teacher conferences, our parent percentages for middle school were very low. We had about 20 or 30%. And so now our last parent-teacher conference, which we actually had last Thursday for our middle school alone, our numbers increased to 66%. So for us, that's huge because we don't typically see parents turn out for middle school. And so we want to make sure that we're taking every advantage and every opportunity possible so that we are bringing in our parents. And so while they're asking questions about what are the next events or what are the next apprenticeships that our students will be involved in, we want those questions. We don't care. We want them there. So we're just interested in getting them there by any means necessary. We've also noticed that our students who are enrolled in the extended learning program, that while they're not perfect, they're more cautious about the choices that they're making. And so keep in mind, we are a year 2 turnaround school, so by no means are our students, are our little darling babies perfect. But we have been on a long journey with our students, and so the thing that I'm most proud about and I am excited about is they are starting to think differently about the choices that they're making. They're starting to think differently about how they process conflict resolution. They're starting to think differently about the way that they involve themselves with certain situations. And for me, can we contribute that or attribute that to one teacher, especially if one teacher only has about 80 minutes of time with them during the day? And so can we look at the partnership that we have with Citizen Schools to say, but their teaching fellow spends about 6 or 7 or 8 hours with them a day. Plus, we have apprenticeships that they spend plenty of time with them when their teacher only sees them for 80 minutes a day. And so we look at now the investment of people that spend time with them. And for me, that's the value added. These are additional resources that we've never had at our access before. We've never had at our fingertips. And so when we look at the comparative value from last year, our culture and climate has drastically changed with middle school from last year to this year. So I'll give you a very concrete example because we have to use value-added measures for our big rocks. And so last year, this very time, because I'm always data-driven because that's our world as a year 2 turnaround school, but our culture and climate metric for this time last year, actually of last week, our culture and climate data was 69% for students that had major discipline issues just for middle school. So this year, we're only at 42%. And so have we done anything differently in terms of systems or procedures that we've put in place? Not really in terms of what we've done structurally on our end, but our partnership this year is different. So the practices and the policies and the relationships that we've implemented have been very different. So I absolutely can contribute that to what we're doing differently around the mentorships, the partnerships, and just the presence, because presence means a lot when children see an extra body of stable people in their lives. And so is that equity? Yes, because that's what other schools get that we've never had before. Is that opportunity? Yes. Is that a standard of excellence? Absolutely. And that's something that our students value. That's something that our community values. That's something that my staff values. And that's something that comes when you formulate great partnerships and build great relationships.
That's great. So now it's time to turn to you all out there. Raise your hand if you have a comment or you want to ask the panel a question. Is anybody out there? Am I missing someone? All right, we'll start here.
Lindsay with Higher Achievement. I speak loudly, I think. I would love to hear your thoughts on the time period of middle school in particular. It's one that a lot of us in this room are working in. And what do you think are unique opportunities and challenges of that time period?
Anthony?
During this time period, again, my role is parent engagement coordinator at the middle school level. I was talking to a gentleman earlier today in terms of, because the level of parents actually being involved was pretty low. And you begin to ask yourself, why parents don't engage in their child's education? Is it the school? Is it a bad experience that that the parent may have? What is it? So it's like now we have a model that we look at. It's the 30-40-30 model. And what I mean by 30-40-30, at our school now, it's like we have 30% of our parents that is going to be involved in whatever it is that their child is doing. We have another 30% that's, for whatever reason, is not going to be involved. But then we have this 40% that is on a fence that could go either way. So with that, we try to shift half of that 40%, which will make up our 50% of parents to be supportive in terms of being more engaged in their child's life and in the school. But we go on to ask, why parents don't want to be involved. And it's various reasons. Some of our parents aren't even on their own academic levels or never graduated from high school. So it's like when they come into a school, they may be intimidated. It's not a comfortable situation. I know one of the things that I try to do is just welcome every parent with open arms. I'll be at the front desk, I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm greeting them, asking them, can I help you? Trying to crack a joke just to make them smile or whatever the case may be. But the whole point is to make the parents feel a little bit more comfortable and want to come. I don't think there's any parent out there that don't love their kid. We're just trying to figure out what is it that we can do to get you more involved in your child's education. So then you also have to build a sense of trust with these parents as well. Why should I tell you some of the issues or the struggles that I have? We have different programs set up. We have social workers. We have supports for our parents. We try to provide our parents with various resources. Every Friday, we have a parent support group where parents could come in and meet with myself. We have a facilitator and other parents just to have them understand that you're dealing with an issue, you're not alone. We also try to give our parents different strategies in terms of how to deal with our kids, because a lot of our parents don't know about child development. When my kid is 8 years old, what are the behaviors, they should be displaying. So we try to educate our parents as well as to how to be a parent so that they could be more supportive and involved in their kids' education. So that's one of the things that we continue to try to work on, and we try to increase, which is our parent engagement.
Kelvin, I want to turn to you. I don't know if you remember being in middle school.
So long ago.
But I taught 7th grade for 3 years, so I remember it quite well. But, I think this is a great question because you talked about developmental stages. Middle school is certainly a different developmental stage for kids. How would you think about expanded learning time and what needs to happen for kids who are at that age?
When I think about my middle school years, I think that around that time, just looking back, just thinking even now, like things changed. It was a little weird back then. Like the people, in the neighborhood you grew up with and you went to elementary school with started changing, different cliques, and and whatnot started to form at that point. And for me, it was a time that I was able to recognize and say that I need to disassociate myself with some of those things. And I was fortunate enough to be in an environment like higher achievement and to have the mom that I did to be able to recognize that and to say that, you know, okay, this is not for me and this is not where I see myself in a couple years. So I just know that it's a difficult time, just from my experience, and also just working. I worked as an intern with higher achievement as well, and just being at that time I was in high school, looking back at the middle schoolers that I would help assist with. Like I said, it's a weird time for them. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a lot going on. They're changing. We all know that, and just who they are socially and trying to fit in. It's a lot going on, and to have expanded learning opportunities, to be kind of a supplement to what is going on in the outside world, and kind of teaching them and fostering them to be scholars that like we were, really helped and made the difference.
Carmel, you have comments on this? I just remember that halfway through the 7th grade year, the boys discovered the girls and the girls discovered the boys.
This can be very tricky. I think Bryce and Aaron can agree with me that sometimes our students and many times our parents can have a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset. And I think it's up to us to really provide alternate ways to create pathways to help them grow and to help them develop and help them understand there are different ways to achieve a goal. There are multiple pathways to achieve goals. And oftentimes, our students and our parents are stuck with one way to do things, and it's my way, and this is the only way. And sometimes in the mind of a teenager, that's exactly what it is. And we have to help them understand, we hear you, we understand you, we don't always agree with you, but there are some different strategies that we need to equip them with. And I think sometimes for us, at least, that's the missing piece, is helping them to develop additional strategies of support to go about different ways to accomplish a goal. And oftentimes we find that the tricky piece is helping parents understand that there is a level of development and there's a learning curve sometimes for giving them strategies to help them understand that their children need something different. So it's always about a team-based approach because we have to be partners in the process. And so we've also learned to be very understanding that we all have to find a collaborative way to help our children grow. And that's a place where we have to meet in the middle to say, what is it that's in the best interest of our children? How are we going to structure supports around it? And then what is our course of action? Because the teenage mind is very complex. They don't know what they want, but we have to figure out what they need and help them grow and develop. So that's where we've been. We've been living in this land of teenage development and adolescent development, and it's very difficult. And oftentimes, we can be very impatient, but it's necessary because adolescents are very difficult sometimes, but we know the work is necessary because if they don't have us to stick it out and they don't have us to put the work in, then we're losing our foundations in the communities.
We have time for one more question.
Hi, I'm Mike DeMarco with Higher Achievement. And Carmel, in your closing remarks, you talked about the changes in behavior from last year to this year. And that echoes Kelvin's personal story. And I was wondering if you could just speak, what about expanded learning is special or unique that leads to those changes?
I will be very honest. Last year, we were a year one turnaround school. So there were a few things that we just didn't have the resources and support to do. And so as a year one turnaround school, we were really focused on the one thing that everyone focuses on: academics, academics, academics. And so while we really thought about culture and climate and we really integrated that into our curriculum, we left out some key pieces. We really focused on academics. We built in some SEL components, but we really left out the whole combination of what happens when you leave out the social emotional learning pieces. What happens when you leave out how to tap into students' learning abilities in a way in which they're drawn to, which they're naturally drawn to? What happens when you leave out student choice? Because if you force a student down this path of inquiry, you don't always get the best results. You don't always get the best answers. And so what we've learned through this year and this partnership with Citizen Schools is that students are given options of what apprenticeships they want to participate in. They're given a choice to develop and grow and see what their learning path is. They're able to see the residents and the teaching fellows in their classrooms throughout the day, because now they're saying, hey, this is the person that I'm working with in extended learning day. They know what I'm capable of doing after school. They believe in me, they see my skills, they see my gifts, they see my talents that my classroom teacher has probably never even seen. But now this person is transferring all of those knowledge and all of those gifts and skills into my classroom. And now this person I see this person planning with my classroom teacher. I see this person sharing with my classroom teacher. And so now that knowledge has become a body of knowledge, so that everyone understands I am smart, I have these gifts, I have these abilities. And so now they start to see their classroom teachers differently, but now their classroom teachers are responding differently because their classroom teachers have noticed things about our students that they didn't see before, because they were so academically driven that they didn't realize or just didn't have time to see that our students have these other special talents going for themselves. And so they've helped us see areas of our students that we didn't necessarily see because we were focused on a bottom line. And those are missing pieces that we can't leave out. When we don't realize that our students bring all these other things to the table, we can't truly say that we're developing the whole child. When we leave out the parent piece, we can't really say that we're bringing in the communities, because, to be quite honest, when we have our WOW events where our students are showcasing the great things that they've been doing, those are oftentimes some of the only times we see our parents now. So we have to leverage it as much as we can to say, how are we going to get our parents in? But we now know that our parents only come when our kids are showing off those special gifts and talents. So we have to do that and integrate that in everything that they do. So now it's taught us a different approach. Student choice through inquiry, student choice, but also coupling it with academics. And so that's not something that we've done before. We took a forced approach to, we have to meet the bottom line, and it did not work for us. We made the data, we made the gains, we made huge gains last year, but we didn't have the buy-in that we have now, and that's something that we needed to capitalize on is the buy-in from students, parents, and the community. So that's the partnership that we now have.
That's great. That's terrific. So we'll only have a few minutes left, so we have time for maybe each person to make one or two comments that you can repeat a point you've made, but what do you want to leave people with today as they walk out of here in terms of the value of expanded learning time in your context? Start with you, Anthony.
I guess first I want to say thank you guys for having me. I learned a lot by listening to all of the previous speakers and attending the workshops. I found really interesting that I'm definitely going to take back with me is a lot of the things that I've learned in the mentorship program, because I feel as though that our students need mentors. A lot of our students I know in our school lack a male figure. And I want to make sure that a lot of our males are getting involved, whether it's through the community, whether it's through one of the staff members, but someone who can, or even Spark. I'm not going to leave Spark out because, again, that's the reason why I'm here. But in the same sense, it seems like students need that because they lack that. I actually had a parent who I see on a regular basis come up to the school and is a father because his daughter often have issues. And I just wanted to pull him aside to say, regardless of whatever the issue is, Dad, continue to do what it is that you're doing because she needs you. You know, I don't know, well, if you just look around this room is more heavily populated with females that's in this field. So we need our males to continue to step up and continue. So I just want to give a round of applause to all our males that's here being supportive for this whole thing. I feel like I'm passionate about what it is that I do working with kids. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I think this is basically my calling. But again, I'm going to take a lot of the things that I learned from here today and actually do a workshop at my school, probably for professional development. So again, thank you guys for having me.
I just want to say I appreciate you all for being here today and having this dialogue, because I think it's much needed, sharing ideas and what works in Chicago, what works in Boston, what works here in DC with one another, because I mean, everybody gets something a different type of way, and I think when we realize when working with kids that we have to tailor to with students, that we have to tailor to their needs, and like how you talked a lot about what individual students need. And I think in school systems they sometimes get lost in just this is the formula and this is how we're going to do it, and everybody's different. I was honored to be here on the panel with these two. I feel, I'm the least qualified to talk about expanded learning. I just reap the benefits of it. But yeah, I just say expanded learning. I mean, once we realize that learning is not just 8:45 to 3:15, but it's a 24/7 thing, that's the key right there to creating the equity that we're talking about.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be here. And thank you to the fellow panelists. Really excited. My experience is that we definitely need more opportunities to increase the learning opportunities for our students, something that we can all become more deeply involved in. And I definitely want to say thank you so much for opening up my eyes to becoming more aware of additional opportunities that we can provide to our middle school students. It is definitely increasingly challenging to provide supports for our students in innovative, word from earlier this morning, right? Innovative and creative ways to continuously capture their interest, and I think that is the difficult and tricky part, that we have to keep up with them so that we don't lose them. We want to continue to gauge their interest, and that is my challenge to myself, to continue to find different ways to keep our students so that we don't lose them. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all of you. If I can be a little partisan, I think you're the best panel I saw today. I wasn't here all day, but you're the best panel I saw all day. Let's give them applause. Thank you.